Good, I'm getting there. Just progressing every day, so yeah, I'll be back soon. I ain't got no timetable.
I think just being able to be around that shoot around, be able to be in the film yesterday, all those things matter as he starts, transitioning his way to being back on the floor.
Born from the ashes of a failed superstar experiment, the Brooklyn Nets entered this season with a collection of talent that they believed could keep their team competitive. I mean, listen to this quote from Mikal Bridges from this past offseason.
This is my guy. I got big confidence. I got big faith in him more this year. His back was messed up now. Got surgery. He's getting back. But he loved the game, bro. I think he's in a good place. All of us, we're close. He's the one talking in the chat all the time, and we all with him. And obviously, we want him to score and stuff, but we ain't pressed about it. You just want to be him, be aggressive.
How do you find ways you can be a support system for him?
Just be there with him, man. Support him. Even if you struggle, whatever, that's cool. Wherever city we go hang out, go get dinner, whatever, get ready for the next one. I think that's the biggest thing, is just he could be confident enough to fail and know, we're there for him. You don't want nobody you feel that pressure every single time, if I don't play well, these guys might not like me. Nah, for me, that's not the case. I'll just try to be there. Listen, bro, you struggle. We're here for you. We want to be there through the process of you shoot 5 middies in a row, you miss all 5, shoot the 6th one. You know what I'm saying?
But after a quality start, the Brooklyn Nets have plummeted over the last month. What looked like a scrappy team with a deep rotation has devolved into a bumbling array of misfits playing for a directionless franchise. While mediocrity is the worst place to be, without their own picks, tanking doesn't help the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn's team has been made up of players who were supposed to actualize their incentive to win, but they've come nowhere close to looking like a team worthy of a playoff spot. No single development has hurt their situation more than the enigma of Ben Simmons. Not only does his indefinite absence hinder their team in the short term, but his contract is holding the team hostage from doing anything meaningful in the long run. So before we get to the content, we are on the grind to 900,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. This is the easiest way to make $150 now. All Christian McCaffrey needs in the NFC Championship is one rush yard, which means he's pretty much a free square on PrizePicks. All you have to do is download PrizePicks, use my promo code microphone to double your deposit up until $100, and then make these picks. I got Isaiah Pacheco scoring 1 touchdown and Harrison Butker making more than 1.5 field goals. Isaiah Pacheco has scored 1 touchdown over the last 5 games. Harrison Butker has been on a field goal frenzy, and I placed $24 to make $150, which are incredible odds. I post my picks for free on a daily basis on my Instagram and Snapchat story, and thank you PrizePicks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? When we released our last Ben Simmons video in mid-December, he had missed all but 6 games since his last appearance in early November. And as of the making of this video, that hasn't really changed. Brooklyn announced that he got an epidural injection in his back to help his recovery in early December, and the Nets owned a winning record at the time after beating old friend Kevin Durant in Phoenix. They would improve to 13-10 on the season by mid-December, but things took a turn for the worst. The Nets didn't win another game on their road trip as they spiraled into a 5-game losing streak. During the slide, Brooklyn announced that Ben Simmons had progressed to the point where he increased his individual work on court, but he wasn't ready to return to the lineup, and the Nets said that they'd provide another update in 2 weeks. Ben Simmons expressed his disappointment and his thoughts on expectations for a return before Brooklyn's losing streak hit 5.
It's probably one of the most frustrating points in my career, just because I want to be out there and help my team win and compete. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that's a part of sports. Not every game is promised. Not injuries happen. Unfortunately, it happens. So for me, it's just focusing on what I can do now and doing what I can to get back on the floor and contribute.
You got banged in practice?
I have no expectations. I just come in every day and work. I think that's one of the things about having injuries like this. I've known not to, put too much pressure on the exact date or whatever it is. It's just continue to get better and get to a point where you can play.
The Brooklyn Nets stopped their losing streak with back-to-back wins over the Detroit Pistons, sending them to their 26th and 27th consecutive losses. They were 500 with a 15-15 record when they got right back to losing with another 5-game slide. In a blowout loss to Milwaukee, they held out 4 key rotational players on the second night of a back-to-back, a move that caused the league to fine them $100,000 for violating changing their participation policy. Ahead of an early January game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, head coach Jacques Vaughn said that Ben Simmons was able to work with other players on the court, but gave no update on a return timeline. That night, Brooklyn pulled off arguably their best win of the season, leading by as many as 32 points and beating the OKC Thunder, emphatically ending their losing streak. But any positive momentum was promptly dashed away 2 days later when they lost at home in overtime to Portland. Shortly after the game, the Nets boarded a plane for Paris to play in the 2024 Paris game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Ben Simmons traveled with the team to France and practiced with his teammates ahead of the game. He also had the chance to speak publicly about his potential return, keeping it short and sweet.
Good, I'm getting there. Just progressing every day, so yeah, I'll be back soon. I ain't got no timetable.
The Brooklyn Nets would go on to lose the Paris game to the Cleveland Cavaliers before coming back to the United States, where their disappointing stretch continued. In their next game, they lost by a point in overtime to Miami. They flew out to Portland for their next game, where Ben Simmons once again joined them and got in some work during the pregame shoot-around. Later that night, Anthony Simons buried the game-winning floater, with 0.2 seconds left to send Brooklyn to their fourth straight loss. An 18-point win over the inconsistent Lakers was a nice way to end the streak, although the national audience was reminded of Ben Simmons' extended absence over the last 3 seasons with this graphic. Ahead of their road trip finale against the Los Angeles Clippers, Jacques Vaughn was asked for a more in-depth update on Simmons and why having him on the road trip was so important.
I think just being able to be around that shoot around, be able to be in the film yesterday, all those things matter as he starts, transitioning his way to being back on the floor, so that gap of recall isn't so huge for him. And whether it's different plays that we're running from the last time that he was in, whether it's different schemes that we were running, if you aren't around that, it can be a lot when he does return. So overall, just being able to be around the group and absorb some of that terminology and knowledge is best for us.
Ben Simmons got in another on-court workout before the game before catching another stray during the game on the TV broadcast. Brooklyn looked poised to earn another quality win against the Clippers, leading by 11 with 5.5 minutes left. But they went scoreless the rest of the way as LA ended the game on a remarkable 22-0 run, going from down 11 to winning by 11. After a 13-10 start, the Nets won 4-15 over the next 19 games, dropping their record to 17-25 on the season as the trade deadline approaches. With their record going down the drain, it would make sense for Brooklyn to pack it in for the season and trade whatever assets they have for draft capital to catalyze their rebuild. But multiple factors are holding them back, and the biggest one is unfortunately Ben Simmons and his contract, which solely can incentivize the Brooklyn Nets to go the other way, which could make things even worse. When the Brooklyn Nets acquired James Harden from the Houston Rockets 3 years ago, holy crap, that was 3 years ago, they gave up a massive haul of draft capital, including 3 first-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps. That essentially gave Houston control of Brooklyn's draft from 2021 through 2027. They still have 4 more drafts until they regain control of their first-round picks. Similarly to their ill-fated 2013 trade to acquire Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett from Boston, Brooklyn can't pivot to a complete demolition in favor of a high draft pick. This was something they had to consider even when reshaping the franchise once their superstar experiment had run its course. In each of the trades that extracted the big 3 from Brooklyn, the Nets acquired players that in theory could help keep them stay competitive. When they traded James Harden to Philadelphia in September of 2022, they got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and an unprotected 2022 first-round pick and a protected 2027 first-round pick. Thinking back to it, who do you guys think won that trade? Let me know in the comment section down below. Last season, when they traded Kyrie Irving to Dallas, they received Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, along with an unprotected 2029 first-round pick and a pair of second-round picks. When they traded Kevin Durant to Phoenix later that week, they received Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, as well as 4 first-round picks, 1 first-round pick swap, and 2 second-round picks. The Brooklyn Nets came woefully short of reaching their championship potential with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, but the Nets have at least made the playoffs in each of the last 3 seasons. The play-in tournament provides a path into the playoffs with just 2 wins as the 10th seed, but even getting there looks like it'll be a struggle for Brooklyn. And if they somehow scrap their way into the playoffs, then what? It'd almost certainly be nothing but a first-round tune-up for the Celtics. Bridges, Johnson, Dinwiddie, and Finney-Smith, who are all on the team as of the making of this video, are all good if not quality rotation players who have been big contributors on playoff teams. Acquiring those 4 along with Simmons, a former All-Star, All-NBA, and All-Defensive player, was supposed to make the Brooklyn Nets relevant in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. However, the last month has shown that this team is much closer to the bottom than the top. With just 6 games played this season and only 48 since the fateful Game 7 of the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals, aka what I like to call the Kevin Durant has big ass feet game, Ben Simmons has done little to help Brooklyn win since joining the team, arguably the most important player of their retooling. He's been out since early November, while his health updates have been kicking the can further down the road towards an unknown return date. That's devaluing his massive contract even more than it was as Brooklyn primes itself for a potential busy trade deadline. On a recent podcast, ESPN NBA reporter Brian Windhorst said this about Brooklyn's approach to the deadline.
I can't speak to what the Nets are thinking right this very second, but the word through the NBA is the Nets are attempting to be buyers.
With their incentive to make win-now moves at the deadline, even in the face of a lousy record, the Nets have little choice regarding their buyer-seller status. Armed with ample draft capital and the expiring contracts of Royce O'Neal, Nick Claxton, and Spencer Dinwiddie, the Brooklyn Nets could pull off a move for a player like Zach LaVine or DeJounte Murray. But getting those players probably won't move the needle enough for Brooklyn to change their fortunes this season. Even if they pull off a big win-now trade, they still have to contend with Ben Simmons and his massive contract. Ben Simmons is making over $37 million this season and another $40 million next season. It's hard to imagine another team trading for the league's 20th highest salary this season, especially with another even higher number on the books for next season. Not to mention the fact that he's barely played over the last 3 seasons. When he's a massive expiring contract next season, that could change. The fact that they might have to wait until then is why the Brooklyn Nets are trapped. Their current team is bad. They can't tank, so they're primed to be buyers at the trade deadline, but their ability to pull off a move that really matters is severely hindered by Ben Simmons. He can't realistically be traded right now, and he's sucking up a massive chunk of their salary cap over the next year and a half. In a relatively short amount of time, the Nets moved on from their swing and miss with their superstar trio, accumulating starting level players and future draft picks. It'll take a lot more for the Brooklyn Nets to extract themselves from the failure of Ben Simmons, leaving their mediocre team stuck in the middle for now and the foreseeable future. Let me know in the comment section down below, what's the solution for the Brooklyn Nets? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.